What's going on, everybody? Welcome into episode 89 of the MudWatch Sports Podcast on this Monday, July 7th, 2025. I'm your host, Zach Malin, but before we get started, please subscribe below. Follow all of my social accounts. Let's start things off in the world of baseball, as both New York teams were in action this weekend, and they faced off against each other for the second time this season, this time in Queens at Citi Field. It's the New York Mets taking on the New York Yankees, and it was the Mets who came out on top, taking 2 games out of 3 of this 3-game set. It all started on Friday with a comeback victory for the New York Mets, a 6-5 win as Jeff McNeil was the hero, and he hits a 2-run bomb into right field off of Luke Weaver to give the Mets a 6-5 advantage, and they would not give it back. A comeback win after the Yankees led after 5-3. Jason Dominguez had 2 home runs in the game. It was all about home runs and the fireworks on Friday, July 4th. And it was really, for both teams, really relying on the home run ball. Dominguez had a couple home runs, like I said. Bellinger had a solo shot. Judge had a solo shot as well. But then on the other side for the Mets, Soto hits a 2-run bomb. Beatty hits a solo home run. And it was McNeil in the end. That was the difference. A 6-5 Mets win. And Luke Weaver and the Yankee bullpen just continue to give games away. They're really in a rough spell right now. Luke Weaver himself, who's been so reliable for the Yankees for the last year or so, and he's really going through a rough spell right now, and he's got to get out of it, and so do the rest of this Yankees bullpen. But you head into Saturday, Frankie Montas on the mound for the Mets, Carlos Rodon on the mound for the Yankees, and you're thinking that gives the Yankees the advantage, but the Mets were able to get to Rodon. 6 earned runs allowed by the Yankees' second best pitcher, you would say, behind Max Fried, and Rodon really struggled in this one. Only allowed 5 hits, but it was the 6 earned runs and the 3 walks that really got to him. Frankie Montas did allow 4 earned runs in this game, but he did well enough that the Mets offense allowed them to get some cushion, allowed Montas to really do his thing for a nice 5 2/3 innings of work, and the Mets pitcher ends up getting the win. It all started in the first for this one, though. Really set the tone for this game. Brandon Nimmo with a grand slam in the first inning off of Carlos Rodon. That gave the Mets a 4-0 lead, and it gave the Yankees really a mountain to climb, and they were not able to come back after that one. So the Mets end up getting the series win. They take the first 2 games, and you're really hoping, if you're a Yankee fan, that you go into game 3, just get a game. You got your ace in Max Fried on the mound. He's been tremendous so far this season, and that's exactly what the Yankees did. They end up snatching a win. They snapped that 6-game losing streak that they had, and it's Austin Wells that got the party started. Austin Wells had himself a game in the end with a couple of RBIs, going 2 for 4 in the game. One of them was a home run. I think when you look at it, Aaron Judge continuing where he left off from the first couple of days, just more and more home runs. He ends up hitting a 2-run bomb to give the Yankees a 5-0 lead. It got close in the end, and in that 6th inning, the Mets started to really chip away at that Yankee lead. They end up getting out of it, though. Max Fried finishes the day with 3 earned runs allowed, 6 hits, only 5 strikeouts, just 1 walk in 5 innings of work, 98 pitches, and the ERA is up to 2.27. So the Mets really made him work. And in the bullpen game of their own on the other side for the New York Mets, they would take a 5-4 deficit in the 6th inning and at the end of 6, but then Judge added to the lead with his sac fly. It was 6-4, and the Yankee bullpen, for the first time, you would say, in a couple of days, you're really feeling like, oh, the sigh of relief for if you are a Yankee fan. And it was Leiter Jr. who came in for 2/3 of an inning and put up some solid work on 16 pitches, but no earned runs from Tim Hill. And then it was Devin Williams who came in for the save with a couple of strikeouts. One of them was very controversial, definitely not a strike in the end. A couple of pitches that weren't strikes, and obviously Carlos Mendoza got ejected in the end for complaining to the umpire about that. But Devin Williams gets the save. Yankees get a 6-4 win, and like I said, they snapped their 6-game losing streak, but they really have a lot of work to do still, and they head into the next series. This time, they're facing off against the Seattle Mariners. It's going to be at Yankee Stadium. They go back home for a couple of series before the All-Star break, and it all starts tomorrow, Tuesday evening, a 7:05 start. It's going to be Will Warren on the mound, going up against Logan Gilbert, and Gilbert's been solid this year, 2-2 record, a 3.40 ERA. The strikeout numbers are looking good for one of the top pitchers on the Mariners, and it's Will Warren on the other side for the Yankees, looking to forget that last time out as he really struggled against the Toronto Blue Jays on Wednesday. And it was all about Will Warren letting up those runs in the first inning. 7 earned runs allowed in the first inning of play. And you're not going to win any game like that. And your lineup, you can't really trust them too much to really catch up in that game. The Yankees did so. They ended up tying the game at 9, and it was Devin Williams in the end that blew it in the bottom of the 8th inning of that game. But now you look at Will Warren in this one, he still made it through 4 innings of work in that game while allowing those 7 earned runs in the first inning. But you really need a much better start from Will Warren, and the Yankees need that badly right now, and just really trying to get off the schneid after a rough month of June and heading into July now, heading before the All-Star break. Yankees need to start racking up some wins and gives themselves some confidence heading into the second half of the season. But it's going to be Warren against Gilbert, 7:05 start as the Yankees take on the Mariners for a 3-game set at Yankee Stadium. And on the other side, it's going to be the New York Mets going down to Baltimore, a 3-game set against the Baltimore Orioles. And the Mets are starting the series 6:35 on Tuesday. It's going to be Clay Holmes on the mound for the New York Mets. And obviously, when you look at Holmes recently, it's like, okay, make sure the innings don't really go up there and try and continue to have a small workload, you would say, in the end, and give yourself some room as the innings are getting up there. A guy obviously converting from a reliever to a starter. The Mets need some good work in probably 4 or 5 innings, and then they could take it from there. But they really need that right now, as they really look like they're getting back to where they wanted to be after those 4 straight wins against the Brewers and the Yankees. But you still need to settle things down. They do still have plenty of injuries and still plenty of things to figure out in their rotation and in their bullpen overall. The lineup looked like they stepped up a little bit more this previous series, and that's a real positive sign. 6 runs and then 12 runs, and then finally 4 runs in Sunday's finale. So you're thinking the offense is starting to really get into a groove. It's all about the pitching right now. They cannot let up too many runs, and they are going up against a couple of teams now in the Baltimore Orioles and the Kansas City Royals the next couple of series that are struggling this season and do not put up a lot of runs on offense. So that should give the Mets some good cushion there. And you would say if their pitching is strong in these games, then their lineup should really take on the load here and really help them find a victory in any of these games. But it's going to be Clay Holmes going up against Brandon Young, a 6:35 start as the Mets start a 3-game set against the Orioles at Camden Yards in Baltimore. Let's finish things off today with a controversial topic that came up over the weekend. I know there's some angry Met fans saying, how in the world is Juan Soto not an All-Star? So let's take a look at the National League All-Star reserves, and you start things with a guy in Kyle Stowers, going to be the only man representing the Miami Marlins in Atlanta on All-Star weekend. Stowers has had a real solid season for the Marlins this year, has been really a bright spot for the Marlins, who have been middle of the pack so far this season. But obviously, when you look at the rule, Major League Baseball requires every team to be represented at the All-Star game, so that's really the main reason why Stowers gets the nod. They do want fans from all over the country, from all over the place, and fans representing every team to come out to the All-Star game to see their favorite player from their favorite team. So Stowers gets the nod, and really no debate about that one. You want to put Juan Soto up against Kyle Schwarber or James Wood. Kyle Schwarber has been really good this year, 27 home runs, and has been tremendous for the Phillies. And James Wood has been electric for the Washington Nationals this season with an average close to 300 this year, and the home runs are really strong. The OPS is way up there over the 900 mark, and really when you put him up against Juan Soto, both of these guys up against Soto, you're going to lose that debate, as both of those guys have better numbers than Soto this season. The only 2 guys that you could really put up against Juan Soto in this debate are Corbin Carroll of the Arizona Diamondbacks and Fernando Tatis Jr. of the San Diego Padres. Carroll had a really good month of April, got injured in the month of June after struggling in the month of May, but did play well in June when he was healthy for Arizona. Tatis has looked really, really good in the month of April, but really, really bad in the month of May and in the month of June. Really bad months at the plate. So you might say, what is the difference here between them and Juan Soto? Well, Soto struggled in April, struggled in May as well, had a monster month of June, a 322 average, 10 plus home runs. The RBIs were way up there, and OPS over 1100. The month of June was tremendous, and you could say maybe that for a certain guy could get him into the All-Star game. But that's not the case, and the big part of that is everyone forgetting that fielding is such a huge part of the game for an outfielder and a separator for getting in or out of the All-Star game. Juan Soto has been terrible this season in right field. According to Baseball Savant, his fielding run value is -10. That is last amongst right fielders, right next to Nick Castellanos, and you're going to put him up against Corbin Carroll and Fernando Tatis Jr. Corbin Carroll has a +3 fielding run value, and Fernando Tatis Jr., even with all the struggles in May and June at the plate, has a +9 fielding run value. That's better than guys like Aaron Judge in right field. So when you look at the reason that Juan Soto doesn't make it into the All-Star game, his fielding is horrible. And obviously, that's the difference in the end. People just realize that his bat is really hot right now. And with the month of June that he had, the name of Juan Soto, he could just stroll on into the All-Star game. He's got to be better in the field right now. And that's the difference between being in and out of the All-Star game. People will say that Pete Alonso has a bad field run value as well. And Met fans will say that. Well, the response to that is Pete Alonso's had an average in a couple of months close to 300, and he's looked really, really good so far this season and definitely deserves to be in over some of the other first basemen in the National League. Outfield is a tough area in the National League. There's a lot of good guys this season, and even you can look in the American League, it comes down to fielding. Cody Bellinger gets snubbed from the All-Star game, and a couple more guys. Julio Rodriguez has been horrible at the plate this year and has an OPS in the 600s, but he still gets in because his fielding run value and his fielding WAR is tremendous, near the top of baseball in the American League. So he's been really, really good, and he gets into the All-Star game representing the Seattle Mariners as well. So it comes down to fielding. Juan Soto is not a good enough fielder, and he doesn't deserve to be in the All-Star game because of that. Fernando Tatis Jr. probably deserves to be in. He's one of the best fielders in all of baseball. Same with Corbin Carroll, plus the fact that Carroll's had some good months, and obviously the average is up there next to a guy like Juan Soto. So in the end, Corbin Carroll and Fernando Tatis Jr. get into the All-Star game. Juan Soto does not. Probably going to get in next year, as he probably will get off to a hotter start. But that's the difference right now between in and out of the All-Star game. And Juan Soto is going to feel the effects of that. But Juan Soto gets snubbed, and a lot of Met fans are angry about it. I don't see why. He's just not good enough in the field. But that will do it for episode 89 of the MudWatch Sports Podcast. Please subscribe below. I've been Zach Malamuth. Thanks for watching, and talk to you all on Thursday.